Hi. It's been over a month since Halo Infinite has come out, or longer if you count the early multiplayer release, and everyone has had ample time to play the game. Most reviews right now are mixed, but the consensus seems to be that the classic Halo experience that Infinite is trying to emulate is a good direction for the series. But Halo Infinite is a fundamentally different game from its predecessors, doing radically new things that are good in some aspects and disappointing in others. But I truly believe that Halo Infinite is a solid foundation for Halo's future, but a disappointing game right now. Let me explain. Halo Infinite, when compared to previous games, even the 343 ones, is lacking a lot of features at this time. No Forge, no co-op, no firefight, bare bones and barely working custom games, missing playlists for Infection and Griffball and a variety of other game modes, but the key word is yet. It's not in the game yet. And that's how people have been able to excuse this missing content. The promise of more down the line. An overwhelming majority feel the game is fun, but honestly I'm starting to get burnt out at the lack of features in this game. Especially when the bar for Halo is set so high when it comes to variety of content. Halo Infinite is not a complete product, not in its multiplayer, and not in its overall plot in the campaign. It's a solid, sturdy foundation, but it's missing the walls and the roof. While the multiplayer is free to play, that softens the blow a little. It's still so disappointing because imagine if Halo Infinite released day one with just a basic version of Forge and custom browser. Imagine how hard Halo would be blowing up right now if people could play stuff like Speed Halo, Race, Cops and Robbers with their friends on cross-platform. I mean, Halo would be killing it if they did that, because the truth is, the more freedom you give your players, the more fun and invested they'll get. It's so sad to see that it wasn't prioritized. But there still is something to be said about free-to-play Halo. Something that I personally am really happy about, because I was able to play with friends that normally don't play Halo and otherwise wouldn't have bought the game. I think going free-to-play was a good move. And if content has to suffer from it, that's really disappointing, and it's going to hurt the initial impact of the game. But soon the house will have some walls built and the roof put on top of it. 2 years from now, Halo Infinite might become a king again. It's only a matter of time, right? But most people are frustrated with waiting at this point. I mean, we've waited 5 years for this game, and, we didn't even get that much in my eyes. But there are some good things to be said. The core character development has drastically improved from Halo 5, with interactions between Chief, the pilot, and Baby Cortana being rich in their own microplots. In the story, we see them butt heads with Chief, causing tension and ultimately going to their own resolutions. This is leagues ahead of the cardboard cutouts on Team Osiris, which I don't even remember the names of, which goes to show just how forgettable they were. There is also something to be said for Infinite feeling like a Halo game. The return to actually playing on a Halo ring, references to previous Halo games with Captain Keyes and Cortana's monologue from Halo 3. I mean, the soundtrack and the art style feel classic and recognizable without trying to copy the Bungie era style. It truly feels like 343 has stopped living in the shadows of Bungie and has learned to respect what has come before while also adding their own new ideas. The campaign costs money, so it's going to feel more complete than the multiplayer, but it still lacks finality. The campaign itself is fun, a more open-world experience suits Halo very well, and is reminiscent of Halo Combat Evolved's large open play areas. The variety of collectibles and fun Easter eggs to find was really fun. There's a huge variety of enemies in the Banished. Not only do you get to have the grunts and the jackals and the brutes from before, but also brutes with UNSC weapons, elite ultras, skirmishers, alternate hunter forms. It was really cool to see a large cast of aliens to fight. I, however, was very disappointed with the lack of visual variety. It's sad to see a game that clearly takes inspiration from Halo Combat Evolved not have its island beaches, foggy jungles, snowy canyons, and desert plateaus. I also was very disappointed I couldn't fully explore a damaged frigate. There isn't a ton of variety within combat situations either. Almost every time you walk into a room, you have the drop on enemies and can pick any approach for how you want to attack, which is fun and good for player freedom, but I would love to see more creative situations where freedom is taken from the player, like in the wave-based defense mission at the end. Also, I feel like the grappling hook, while a fun and great addition to the open world sandbox, is a bit too good. Throughout my playthroughs, the grapple provides so much mobility and recharges so fast that it actively de-incentivizes me from using any of the other abilities. When upgraded, it recharges so fast that I don't even have to think or be super careful with how I place my next grapple shot, because I'll just have it again in a few seconds. But of course, the biggest disappointment with Halo Infinite's campaign is its overarching plot. I found Escharum to be a completely uncompelling villain from start to finish, and I'll even go as far to say that every single villain in this game is completely uncompelling. Escharum's monologues are tiring, his motivations are obscure, and he was ultimately irrelevant in the larger story. At first, I didn't understand why 343 opened the game with a cutscene of Master Chief getting bodied by Atriox, only to have you fight some random other brute. Why not have Escharum beat Master Chief on the Infinity? Well, the answer to that is DLC, of course. 343 recently trademarked a new DLC for Infinite called The Endless. It felt like the only point for the Harbinger to be in the game was to sequel bait for this new DLC. Take any of the villains, Escharum, the Spartan Killer, the Harbinger, even the Monitors. All of their motivations were vague, none of them contributed much to the plot at all, and they all barely interacted with the Chief until it was time for the boss battle. 343 needs to learn how to write villains that can play a stronger role in the plot and interact with the protagonist other than monologuing to him. But while the micro plots between Master Chief, the pilot, and the weapon are great, the macro plot suffers. There is no clear reason for the Banished to be on the ring, at least to me. I don't know what their motivations are as a faction. I don't know what the UNSC plan to stop whatever the Banished are doing even is. These basic questions are not answered in the main plot. I don't have a very clear understanding of what's going on in the big picture, but I guess that's the benefit of having a story that continues through DLC. 343 can take these criticisms and mold the story as it develops to be better. They have a solid new game engine, they have a core gameplay sandbox that people like, they have an art style, theme, and music that respects the legacy. This game is incomplete in many different senses, but it's worthy of wearing the Halo title. It's a strong foundation, and if 343 can adapt, learn from what went right and what went wrong, they can turn it into the game we need it to be.